And recording. Ah. So, tonight I'm going to start off the initial batch of reactions. Excuse me. Had to reload there. I had a suggestion just recently from one of my consistent viewers, Aura Wind, who provided me with a Mexican thrash band he thought I should listen to. And I've mentioned in previous videos that the Mexican metal scene is a big blind spot for me. Like, I'm Mexican, but obviously I'm in the US, I'm Los Angeles based. I've gone to Mexico a handful of times, but the last time I went, I think I was in ninth grade, which was back in either 1998 or 1999. And for whatever reason, generally when I listen to Spanish music, it tends to be more like old school stuff like Mana or like Soda Stereo or like things like that, where it's more just like rock and not necessarily metal. So again, big blind spot for me. And I'm always very, very happy to discover like something from the homeland, essentially. So, what he had for me was a band called Phantom. And this is a thrash band. So, I just took one of his suggestions that was called Ravager Hunts. This is a 4 minute, 17-second song. This was uploaded 1 year ago and only has about 1,000 views. So, something pretty underground, or as of this YouTube video, doesn't really have much exposure. So I'm very curious what this sounds like. Obviously, probably thrash-y. This is Handed to Execution is the album, which I believe is their only album. Excuse me. Ravager Hunts. Let's see what it sounds like. Wanted to pause it right there because it's more or less at the halfway point. And you kind of have to pause these videos just for copyright purposes. So immediately, sounds very thrashy. Sounds very much with the effects, the production, and sort of the delay echo reverb sound on the vocals. It has very much like a period piece kind of sound. Like it does sound like late 80s, early 90s. No, no, maybe mid to late early 80s. So it does sound like it came from that specific period, which is cool. And obviously, like 1,000 views. It was from last year, but I think it said it was by DistroKid or something, so it's likely self-produced. So there is a certain quality that you're going to get from that kind of thing. I do appreciate this album art. Looks like Skeletor standing in front of the Castlevania castle. Obviously, cool battle axe. I do dig the way Phantom is there. The lettering, it's actually cool. Obviously, pointy swords, blood dripping. It's awesome. I dig the guitar sort of melody. It almost has like a Motorhead mix to it, a little bit. Um, and generally, when I think of like thrash, I think of like old school Metallica or like Slayer. So like it does have sort of like more of like a James Hetfield kind of like singing styling, which is funny because like Tom Araya from Slayer is Mexican, so you would think this is a Mexican band, but yeah, Metallica's popular, I guess, more popular. So it's more of an influence. I'm not picking up the words necessarily because there is a heavy sort of like echo or reverb kind of effect on the vocals. But generally, I don't pay attention to lyrics at first go anyway. I'm kind of waiting for like a solo to come and just like the mealies and the dillies just to kind of like just like scorch. But yeah, so far I like it. Let's go. Sludge factor to that bass playing that I enjoy. So if this is their first album or only album, like I'm impressed by it. I feel like since it is provided to YouTube by DistroKid, I do get the sense that this is self-recorded and self-produced. So in the mix, there are certain things that I think I would change as far as like what should pop or not. Uh, but it does feel like generally thrash or punk. It does have more of like a DIY kind of like feeling and sound to it, especially like if you go back to the old recordings from like the mid '80s of like thrash bands. They're they're not clean. They have more of like a punk kind of feel to them, as far as like the presentation goes and the playing and just the way it ends up sounding. So it's cool that something that's recent has that kind of feel to it. I do think I wish the lyrics, the vocalist was a little bit more aggressive in the attack of how he actually said the words. Let me exit out of this real quick. Yeah, like it. What I tend to come across as far as like bands, um, the interpretation I generally have is like I almost always enjoy the music. It's hard for me to find like vocalists and lyricists that I enjoy because it doesn't always necessarily mesh with the instrumentation. Here it did. So I'm only bringing that up because like I'm on that specific train of thought, not necessarily because I think there's a problem here with that. I was kind of hoping this would be in Spanish since they are apparently a Mexican thrash band, but when I saw the title was in English, I figured, all right, he's probably gonna sing in English too. So when there is a language barrier, or you're singing in a language that is not your primary language, the it's not necessarily going to come across exactly like you would want it to. So there is that little aspect of it. But yeah, great song. Fucking loved it. And I would like to hear more. I do feel generally like if something's more recent, I would want it to sound a little bit more current. But if they're self producing, self recording, which I don't know if that's the case or not, I'm just assuming, then like it makes sense that it would sound kind of the way it does. But I enjoyed this and I kind of do want to hear more. So like this was a good introductory song into them, especially since it was only about 4 minutes. So that's a good like manageable chunk of time. Awesome. Yeah, probably check out more.